Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everybody, to another fun night of web technology. So tonight we'll be focusing on themes, but just as a reminder, we're here on behalf of California Capital, and I'd like to direct you to their services on their website. See, we have even some new people on this week for the first time. So welcome. If you've missed some things, we'll show you where to catch up on that soon. So I normally do an orientation talking about how to use the system, but it looks like the vast majority of the people have been on before. So the very basics are just submit questions as they come to mind, and I'll try to answer them as they come in. If I'm kind of on a roll or focused on something else, I'll respond as soon as possible, or as soon as they get my attention. If we don't get to answer all the questions by the end of the session, then I'll make sure I get back to people individually. So one of the things I always mention is that it's important that you complete the SBA course evaluation form, which is on our website. So as a reminder, our home website here is bakersfieldrecycles.com. That's the class website. And to review the things we have available here under student resources, you've got forms for requesting a plugin or theme. And we'll also use that for any slides that you might request when you're building out anything we talk about today. So I'm going to be showing you a really cool tool called Revolution Slider that is all you need to build a really nice website. And it's one plugin, but it can do really amazing things, including just about anything else you'd want to do from a visual side. So if you need plugin or slides installed for you to work with, just submit this form again and indicate that it's a slide, and I'll show you where to find those and what to put in there throughout the class today. And then, of course, we've got the WordPress theme directory linked, the plugin directory link. This is that form that I talked about to request a plugin or theme. And then down here, we've got the student site directory. So if you created a site and you can't remember what it is or how to log in, you can go here and click that and find your site. And when you click that link for your site, it will pull up a generic theme with a place on the bottom right where you can log in. After our last class, I added an accessibility checker for checking your theme design for, I don't want to call it just ADA compliance. It's really about overall accessibility that also helps with user experience. So multiple reasons to follow the guidelines there. And then we've got our course schedule for anybody interested in what we're covering on each night, my bio, and then as I mentioned, that SBA training evaluation form. And this is the one that's important to send to Sophia after each session so that we can continue to improve the sessions and to make sure that she can send them in and get matching funds from the SBA for the programs that we put on here. My time is volunteer, but the SBA gets reimbursed or the California Capital gets reimbursed by the SBA for providing this free training. So it works out well for everybody. And I just enjoy being here, and I enjoy helping people get businesses off the ground, especially using technology. So that's what I get out of this. So anyway, as a reminder, this is where you can find everything you might need. Everybody who's registered is a part of our newsletter, so once in a while I might shoot some things out to you. If you still need to create a site, just click here and follow the instructions. If you forget your password, you can retrieve it using your login page. If you look at where the login is, it has a little line below it asking if you forgot your password. And if you did, you just click that link to reset, and it'll send a reset link back to your email address. So as a reminder for tonight, our class schedule here, and what we'll be covering is, this is session 4 of 8. So we're going to continue talking about theme design, but we're going to really focus in on designs that are much more engaging and vibrant and full of motion and color, things that really engage people visually and emotionally, that bring people back to your website and make it look really sharp and professional. So that's what we'll be focusing on this evening. And I'm going to close a few of these links as we don't need them to keep the clutter down. We might come back to that one later. We won't need this. And then we're ready to move forward from here. So what I want to show you first is this Revolution slider. We talked about it briefly in the last class, but didn't dig in very deep. So let's take a look at that. And it's the link is revolution.themepunch.com. I'll send that link out through our chat box in case any of you want to save that and bookmark it. So you should see that come through the chat box if you haven't already. And you can click that and bookmark it. And what I recommend people do, even in terms of just organizing your workspace, is you'll see I've got little folders up here in my bookmark bar. And then I organize drop downs. So for this class, for example, if I go to CalCap classes, theme design session 2 of 2, then these are all the different pages I wanted to save. So if I ever needed to come back to that, I can click open all tabs. Now, many of the projects I work on involve needing to have multiple pages open for different reasons, whether I'm maybe working with Amazon AWS on a CloudFront platform or trying to do some, well, whatever it might be, working with databases. I might also have a page open for plugins, maybe 2 or 3 pages open on the back end so I can get to them quickly without waiting for page load times, things of that nature. So if I'm working on a project for a client, I'll have links to everything I need under one client file name. And when you pull up all your tabs, you can do like something like this, where you do a right click and bookmark all tabs. And when you do that, it's going to ask where you want to put them. So I just create folders, and then I put everything into one folder so I can have working space. So if I needed to come in later and I'm going to start working on this, I can just go here, right click, open all tabs. And when I do that, everything pops open without me having to remember and go to each page one at a time. So the reason I mentioned that now is you might want to do something like that. If you were to open up the link I sent, just bookmark it in a folder for this class, and each time you have a link relevant to this class, bookmark it in the same folder so you can come back later and not wonder where you put everything. So it helps a lot to keep things organized when there's so many options and trails to go down. So again, here's Slider Revolution. It's got some amazing features. If we even watch, this whole site's obviously built in Slider Revolution. And you can see, if I'm scrolling down, you'll see the movement here. And this is using a vertical design. When you see things moving at different speeds in the front or the back, then that's called vertical parallax. So you can create a 3D effect. So if you think about how things work when, say, you're looking out into the world, and that's the general idea. You want to have your website be like somebody looking into a window on a world that's alive and moving and vibrant, not just, static pictures and things like that. So you can see here in this example for these 3D parallax scenes, and I'll see if I can blow this up a little bit and make it easier for people to view. Get some things out of my way here. And we'll be looking much closer at this stuff in a bit. I guess I can't go too far with that because of the way they have it set up. But you get the idea. So if you're looking at something in the real world, things that are real close to you appear to be moving faster than things that are at a distance, just because of the angles. So when we're looking at things like that, you can see that it makes a website much more engaging. So we're going to talk about how to do all of this today, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And it might be the kind of thing that you think would be super hard, but it's really not, because of all the plugins that are available. So this is what you'll find here on the front page. And the other page we're going to be looking at that will be useful to all of you is the slide example page. So if you take a look here, you'll see that there's these are templates and examples. So if you take a look at this, overall, I should step back and say the software is free for the basic version, and they have numerous plugins or templates that are free also. But then there are some that are premiums. So if you want a premium, then you need to pay for the service, and that you can do through Code Canyon. If you go to Code Canyon and just do a search on Revolution Slider, you'll see it comes up here, and it's $26. So if somebody's been wondering whether or not you could make any money building plugins for WordPress, I'll say 2 things. One is it's a very competitive market, but 2, if you can put out a good product, you can definitely make some money. So this 258.2K is, I don't know where they'd come up with a point 0.2. I don't think that's dollars amounts, but I suppose, no, it looks like number of sales. I just don't know how they got a decimal. But anyway, that's what we're talking about. They got, and on their site, they claim to have, what is it, 4,000 or 40, I don't remember what it was. It might be 4 million users. And if you're paying $26 a piece, that can obviously work out to quite a nice piece of change in the bank. Though I imagine many of those are using the free version versus the paid version. So once you've paid for it, then you get a lot more features like automatic updates, and you get access to the slide repository where you can upload things directly into the back end of your website. But you don't need all that to get started. So for example here, these again are all of the slides, or a lot of the examples they show. So if there's one that you would like me to add for you, all you need to do is click on it. Let's just randomly grab one here. So this is a free slider, as you saw. And you see if you click on it, then it gives you a link here. So all you have to do when you're filling out that form on our page, where we have like right here, the request a plugin or theme, just use that link and then put the name of the slide, which would be Bubble Morph add-on. And that's what we would do. Now these add-ons are something you need to pay for. Oh no, they're saying, oh, it's free if you own a Slider Revolution license. So I have licenses on my other sites, but I'm using the free version on our demo site. So we won't be able to do the add-ons for now, but they're a minor feature overall. Let's go back to the templates here. I picked one that was an add-on, and I shouldn't have. These are all add-ons right here. So here's one. Here's Clear Cut Portfolio. So if I were to choose that, then you can see you get the link right there, and that's all you'd have to submit. And then we could build a website just like this. And it looks like they've got some slides here. Let's see how these change when you click on the links. So that would be pretty complex to build if you were coding everything from scratch, but thanks to the power of WordPress and all the plugins that are available, it's not as difficult as it might look. And that's what I'll show you how to do today. The site that we're working on is a pretty old school type of look. That's the one that we put together with Template Toaster as a basic framework for our site. But it doesn't need to look like this. Even with this is the template that I built. We're going to use the same one today to incorporate some of these beautiful slides. Then we're going to use this template, and you won't even be able to tell it's the same template by the time we're done. I've also put some, let's see, I need to refresh here, as I added another menu item for us. So the things you're going to see today are over here. It's SR Demos, that stands for Slider Revolution. And here's Rev Slider Demo 1, Rev Slider Demo 2. I'll fix these menu items so it's a straight drop down at some point here, but it works fine. It's just not laid out well. Theme option, of course. Those are the kind of things you want to test before you go live. But this whole thing, by the way, is really just a dev sandbox. A lot of the things up here don't work at all yet. We'll probably talk about these in our social media outreach class. And some of the things down here are just dead links as well. But that's it's a toy, sandbox. So if you see something not working, it's not you. It's just things we haven't fully developed or fleshed out. All right, so let's take a look. I want to make sure we're keeping up with everything. All right, so let's go back here. I've got tabs open for a lot of different things we're going to look at. Just to refresh on menus, I added some menu items right here. After I added these pages, you just select, go to Appearance, Menus, select what you want to add to menu, and that brought them in right here. If you ever want to add a menu that's a dead link and then some sub items, that's what we've done here. And to do that, you can say add a custom link, and instead of putting a URL, just put a hashtag. Okay, and you can call it whatever you want. So I'll just call it hashtag demo, or just hashtag. And now I can add that to my menu. And here it is. but it won't link to anything. So if I were to save this and go out to my menu, it would show this, but it wouldn't nothing would be active. So if I were to click it, nothing would happen. And if I wanted to then add pages, I can go here and do the same thing. Select whichever pages I want, add to menu. And if I wanted those to be sub items, I just slide these in to whatever position I want. And that creates sub items. That's going to look really strange, but let's take a look anyway, just so you can see what it does. Okay, we'll go back out here to our site and refresh. So now under HT, you can see if I click there, nothing happens. But the menus the sub items we just added are right there, and they all work. So I'll remove this at some point, but it doesn't really matter right now. And I should point out, a lot of this is going to look complex at first when you look at it, or too much to absorb is a better way to put it. It's not that it's difficult, it's just that there's so much there. So don't worry about that while you're watching this. I've already added to our page a full tutorial that's about 2 hours long, and it covers all of the details for Slider Revolution 5.4, which is what we have installed. So that will be there, and then of course a recording for our current session will be there, and the recording for last week is here as well as the previous weeks. So that's pretty easy to find. Just session recordings, drop down until you find our class session, and this video will be right there. I also would point out, well, we'll come back to that later. Okay, so we have our classes on page, and what you do is you install Slider Revolution, which I've already done for you. So when you're on your site, you'll see it down here as a plugin. And then inside that plugin, you can add different slides for whatever you want to do. So I'll show you what that looks like. So this is an example of where I have slides uploaded. And I could add dozens and dozens more. Now, if I were on a site where we had activated the plugin by paying the support ticket, then again, I want to emphasize we're not doing anything illegal. This isn't like unlicensed or bootleg or something like that. It gives you this version for free. But if you want to have automatic updates and be able to do some things from inside the Slider environment and be able to use the add-ons, then they want you to pay the $26. Then that gets you a year of free software updates as well as tech support. So it's generally worth it to do those things if you're going to be using it very much, or if you feel like you might need more tech support. I'll show you what that looks like on a licensed site, and I'll show you what it looks like on a couple functional sites from the front end. So one I've done here is this is Mobius Intelligent Systems, one of my new organizations. And you can see here we do software and apps, data science, predictive analytics, machine learning, custom BI tools. On this platform, we're focused on sustainability intelligence. And we're doing training and education, cyber, and that just goes to a contact form. And you can see we've got a layer here that just kind of shows some data points that's responsive to a mouse, just to give it a little interactivity. There are several things I could do. One, I don't really like these colors, so I can change those. I probably will at some point soon. We could also give this like what's called a Ken Burns effect, where I could make it look like, as you're looking at this, that you're going down the road. So the image will come in, and it'll look like you're basically driving or walking or flying over top of the road, going up into the mountains. That's the kind of effect that's really easy to do with this sort of platform. So with a license on here, if I wanted to add something new, I can go here to all sliders. I'm going to leave. I don't have anything to. Okay, you can see how many I have in here now. And with the plugin activated and the license code, and I probably shouldn't overall expose that, but it only works on one site, so not a big deal. Whenever you register your key, or pay, you'll get a key or code, and you can put that in on your website, but it'll only work on one. So it's not like the kind of thing that somebody could just type in mine and have it work. But let's say I wanted to then add a slider. I could either import from my desktop, or from a file, which is what you can do on any platform, whether you have the license activated or not. So I'll show you how to do that in a little while. But if you have the license, you can also import directly from Slider Revolution. So I can click Add Slider from Template. And pick anything I want right here. So that includes, say, free packages. So a package is basically an entire website with a group of slides that all work well together. So let's say, for example, I've already got this one in and working, so we're going to look at that in a little while. Here's a website builder package, start content block package, light package. That one I've already got installed. So all I'd have to do is click on any of these, though. Let's just say nice and clean. So I can click here to add it, install slider pack, create blank page with demo. Yes. So now it's installing everything for me, and it's going to create a demo page. And I'll show you what happens on that demo page that makes that important. Well, we're running into, these always do load a little bit slowly because they're large files, but we have a compounded issue when we're on GoToWebinar because of bandwidth in and out. Well, let's, while that's doing that, we'll jump back over to our site. But you get the idea that I can, just from clicking Add Slider from Template, I can go direct into the library for Slider Revolution and pull things right out of the library. The other way to do it, if you don't have a fully licensed site and you have some files that you can upload, which is what I'll do for you in this case, is if we go here to Slider Revolution on bakersfieldrecycles.com, I can't add Slider to template, or it'll say that I need to activate the plugin first and pay the fee, but I do have rights to import. And I've already have the license and files to download and add anything I want. So when I bought the license, it gives me all these examples. So there's examples for the 4.x versions, examples for the 5.x versions. So I can go in here and pick any of these I like. One I've already done is this Leavenworth restaurant bar theme, but we can pick any others here. Let's just pick, let's say, Sports Hero or Web Product Light. Let's try that. And I'll go ahead and open. And it might give me an error message because it's just takes a while, but it usually installs anyway. And those settings can be adjusted too. So if you have things that happen to be timing out, or they tell you it's exceeding your media file size requirement, you can adjust those either in your WordPress settings or in your code. And for example, your PHP INI file, you can set maximum file upload sizes. Sometimes that'll be controlled by your server company though. So you can't always count on that to work for you. But you can do it through code. Let's see. I got a message here from when I sign into my website. I often get the message, this page isn't working. Bakersfieldrecycles.com is currently unable to handle this request. HTTP error 500. Error 500 is typically a server-related error. And I can tell you one thing that happened in our case was that I found a plugin that had a conflict. And so it was causing 500 errors last week, I think it was. But once I removed or disabled that plugin, then everything started working fine again. If it happens again, let me know. You can text me. My numbers, I think I set my number to everybody. But you can text or email me and just let me know what's going on, and I'll get into it and see what's happening. It's probably not on your end if it's an HTTP error 500. So good question, and that should be working. Oh, I see. Somebody's saying that's happening right now. Well, it shouldn't be right now because obviously it's working for me. But I'll look into that and see if I can go through the error logs in the server and see what might be causing it. Okay, so obviously it's working here and it's the same site, so I don't think it's a server issue this time. So now that has uploaded. So this was that package that we just talked about, the Web Product Lite. And if I wanted to go in there and edit it, I could just click any slide. But first, let me show you what all of this looks like on the front end. So when I pulled in previous to class to get us staged well, the slides, they're a part of that good news package that we talked about. And then I went to the page, and the way you line up the slides, if you want to use a bunch of them together, and you don't need to memorize this or anything, it might look odd, but it's using a concept called shortcodes, which is pretty prevalent in WordPress. It's just where you have two square brackets and some kind of text in between that can be used to make certain things happen and render it without having to put all the code on every page. So it's a shortcode that basically refers back to other code and renders what you'd like it to. And then each one of these represents a slide, which I'll show you in a minute. Okay, and then in between, you'll see that we have this little section, and what that does is makes it drop down to the next line. So you wouldn't want all these just bunched up. So we're going to have this slide, and then when we put this in and put this next slide, it tells that slide to show below. So these are kind of like dividers between the slides. So you always want those in, and that tells it where to break for the next line or slide, so to speak. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like on the front end. And remember, this is our same exact site. So this is bakersfieldrecycles.com and Rev Slider demo page. You can see this looks like a completely different website. And if I were to refresh this, you can see the kind of action that happens on the page. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we'll just refresh our look here. So see how it loads in stages. So watch how this all comes in. And then if we scroll down, see these all coming in separately. And this is even 2 slides. So ignore the text. This is just placeholder text. But this itself is a horizontal slideshow. So if I slide to the next slide, you can see the different things that are available. And you can put in multiple slides just even based on this one. And I'll show you how to do that. You can copy it and just replace it with your own pictures. And you could have, a dozen slides down here. So they might imagine these instead of pictures. Oh, I see connection audio has been lost. So let me wait until that rejoins. So okay, so we should be fine now. I got a message that the audio connection was lost. I'll keep an eye on that, see what's going on. Testing. All right, so I got a message a minute ago that audio was lost. I think we're back now. And I'll watch for questions. If somebody could, let me know if you can hear me again. Testing audio. Okay, I just got a message from GoToMeeting. The audio connection was restored. So just so you all know, we had a pop-up message a minute ago saying that the audio connection was lost. That was not on your end or my end. That was a GoToMeeting system failure. But I got another message saying we're back. So good news. It wasn't you. It wasn't me. It's always the technology. Just blame the technology. That always works. So we're back, and apologize for that. It happens occasionally. And you can see how nice this looks, though, this website. Very artistic, engaging, and somewhat, generic, probably not right for your business, but you can think about the different ways that you can get creative with that. And of course, there are dozens of different ways to use the system and options for slides. So for example, let's go back here. So this is the one that is preset, so you can see the different slides that are in there. If we go back to the slide template layouts where they all are, we can take a look at one. So for example, here's Good News blog header, right? So I can click that and take a look at what it looks like and see more detail. So if we wanted to edit this slide, This is where we would go. And you can have static global layers. So for right now, there's only one slide in this slider, we'll call it. The slideshow package only has one slide in it. You can add as many as you like, and that would make it work like the one we just looked at, where it only appears in one spot vertically, but once you get to that spot, then you can rotate through slides horizontally. And if you were going to do that, you might want static layers on top. So if we click the first field here, you can see we don't have anything there. We don't need anything there. But if we wanted to, we could take a look at what it looks like on that particular slide. And I'll show you when it's done. That would make more sense probably. So let's go into, here's Mobius. So that's the one we just looked at on the front end. So you can see these are the different slides I have in there. And I'll show you what that looks like. So again, if we were here, I can click on any of the what was called a ghost button, and it'll pop up a different slide based on what we do. So here's our data science, predictive analytics. We're using some cloud motion, machine learning, business intelligence, and you can see I customized all of this for the sustainability industry: paper, glass, recycling, energy, solar, wind, methane, training and education, cybersecurity. So this is nothing, this whole website right now is nothing but about 8 slides. So I need to do a lot more on it, obviously. This is, we're just getting started here. We've got clients faster than we can get the website up, which is good news. It hasn't given me time to get back to the website, but it's obviously not getting in our way. But we're going to scale up pretty big, so it's going to look a lot different within a month. But you get the idea of what each one of these do. So from the back end, I can go here and edit any one of these. And what you saw as these ghost buttons are the static layer that stay over top of each slide. So I could also rotate through them this way. So you'll notice those ghost buttons stay in the same place all the time. That's the static layer over the top. So if we take a look at the back, and here's our static layer. I'm going to choose that. You can see what we have here. And I don't really like the color. So let's say, for example, I want to see what that looks like over the first slide. I just click that slide in this part of the selection. And now if I go down here, it shows me what that looks like. And let's say I wanted these buttons to have a different color in the text. So I can choose this. This is called a layer. And I'll show you how to add layers and go through the details here. But we're going to go through a lot as an overview. But again, there's so much in this program that you will not be able to remember all of it. So I'm hoping to give you enough of an orientation that you can feel comfortable poking around and have an overall idea of how it works. And then you can refer to the video and the recording of this session, if you like, to go in and really do it yourself. So send me the text, or fill out the form for the software or the slide that you'd like me to upload. I'll put it in, and then you can do whatever you want with it. So let's say, though, for example, I wanted to change that color. So I can go here, and you can see here's my text color option. All I have to do is click that, and I'll just make it black for now. And save. So this is, now I want to point out that just updated here on the slide. I need to do a second save before we update it on the front end. So you can see now that's what it would look like on a normal basis. And if I hover, it still goes blue. And the reason for that is that if I go into style here, you can see all the different things you can change. So if I wanted to make that a different color, that's all I need to do. And you can change the hover color too. So that's the idle setting. And if I go to hover, then I can tell the hover color, I still want the font to be blue. I could also change the background, border. Generally, I start with copying all the idle settings, and then I just make it so that either the background or border changes when somebody hovers over, so that there's some indicator that they have an active link or something to click on. And now if I were to go and save that slide and then just refresh on the front end, you'll see that that one's going to be black now instead of blue. There you have it. So you can see how that worked, but if I hover, it's still blue. So I'll come back and work on that later. I'm probably going to do something with it tonight. So I'm just going to leave that like it is, as odd as it might appear. But that's an example of what it looks like and all the different things that you can change in the back. So you can, a lot of these images I got from Shutterstock, and then I just customized them for what I needed them to be. Like, for example, changing the terms in here of what they were tracking. That was like a stock chart. Instead, I changed it into sustainability metrics. But that's all you need to do. And if I want to adjust something, within the slide, let's look at this one, say the data science slide. I can click here. And if I drop down, I can adjust any of these layers. So again, this is a layer for the title, and I can go in and change that. Right now, you can see it's got some transparency to it, and I'll probably remove that at some point, but you get an idea of all the things you can do with it. And then down here is where all the motion is controlled. So when you have things sliding in, you can set when they appear. So for example, this blend mode image appears after 600 milliseconds, and then it stays for 1500 milliseconds. So you can have something come in and stay the whole time, or just pop in and then pop back out, and you create a lot more motion in your presentation that way. Another place where I've done this with this tool is with my Chat Badger site. This is a new social media management system that I've developed with some partners, and we're rolling this out nationally in 2 months. But this was all built with Slider Revolution, and if I refresh, you can get an idea of what that does. So watch when it loads. You see motion, you see everything coming in there. You can have additional coffee cups, whatever you want. You can change all this out, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then if I scroll down, this is what I was talking about with vertical parallax. Look how the layer between moves at a different speed than the top layers. So you can index layers through the Z index where you want them from front to back, and then change the speed with which they scroll to get that type of effect. Almost looks like the chair's rolling across the floor. And then look how these all pop in, and even the footer. So I always keep a back to top here. So let's go ahead there. I'm going to refresh again, and we'll scroll down. Okay, so watch all the actions that take place as you scroll. See how these all gently slide into place? So it's kind of a pleasant effect and easy on the eye, nothing too glaring, and nothing too, you don't want the neon sign type of look with things like that. So you have to keep them pretty clean. But that's how they work. And so this was all just done with Slider Revolution, and it can be the entire website. All right, so if we take a look at the back then of what all this is, you can see all these individual pieces. So there's my static layer, here's my slide. If I drop down here, you can see that these are all just layers. And each one of them, here's the chair, the table, the MacBook, glasses, coffee, paper stack, mouse. Each one of these items is its own element. See how I'm hovering over that? So I could change those out. Say, for example, I've got a product that I'm selling. Say I'm selling pens. I could replace this with the image of my pen, my branded pen. If I'm selling a computer product, like I might even want to add my screenshot or an image, or even just my logo in the middle of that screen. I could switch out coffee for a beer if it was a bar type site, whatever you like. And then you can go down here, and this is where you control when all those items come in and go. So you can see how they scroll in, how long they stay, and how long they keep moving, things of that nature. So it can get pretty complex, but it's pretty amazing because it used to take a heck of a lot of coding to make this kind of thing happen. But with Slider Revolution, it makes it all a lot easier. So let's go back to our site because that's the one you'll be able to play on. And I'll show you what you can do with this stuff right on our site once you have the right things uploaded. So we'll go back here to all sliders. Okay, and then you need to get the slide from the back end to the page, and you want to be able to work on it too. So what I typically do if I'm going to work on something and I like the original slide, that's what I have here. So this is called Lovato Restaurant Bar. But before I were to do any work on that, I want to make a copy of it, which I've already done. So I'll do it with a different one. Let's say not generic. So if I were to do some work on not generic, rather than mess with the original, which I like, I'll keep that one as a template to refer back to. And I'll just click here and say duplicate slide. And I'll call it not generic dev slide, something like that, and duplicate. Okay, so now that I've done that, you can see I've got the not generic dev slide right here. Now earlier, I did the same thing with the Lovato Restaurant Bar slide and created L Restaurant Dev. So we could go to mess around with that, and we will in a few minutes. But let me show you how you would work with all of these things to create your own system. So if we go back to here where we've edited a page, and this is called Rev Slider Demo Page, I can take all of this because it's already neatly in place and neatly stacked up with the slides that we looked at. And I can just grab all this short code and copy it. So I'll say copy. And then I can create a new page. So we'll say new page. And just paste all that back in. And I'll call this Rev Slider Demo 3. Now, what you'll want to do, you may recall, well, let me just show you what would happen here if we don't. So first I'm going to publish this without making any other changes. Okay, so that's been saved. Publish is safe. And I'm going to duplicate the tab just to make it easy to get to the page. And now I'm going to say view page. So by doing it this way, I now have a page open on the front end and a page on the back end. So you can see, though, it doesn't look right at all, right? It's behind a whole bunch of other crap, basically our other set template CSS. So if we were to go back up here, you'll see we've got the widget area still showing on the right. We have all this space and that header popped out. It doesn't look right at all. But what we're going to do is go back to this page. And the first thing we'll do is change the template from the default template to one that gets installed the first time you install Revolution Slider to Slider Revolution blank. Now that's for convenience, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. But what I typically do is something like this, where I have both sidebars, left sidebar, no sidebar. You can also say no header, and I've got different templates set up for different needs on different pages. For now, I'm going to take advantage of this blank template that gets installed when you install Revolution Slider or Slider Revolution. Okay, so I've changed the template, and that's not all we'll need to do. We'll need to do at least one more thing, but I'll go ahead and update and show you what that looks like. Okay, so let's go back out. So here's what it looks like before we updated or changed the template. Now watch what happens when I refresh with this page having a different template for Slider. Ta-da! So that just took away the default template that didn't look right with all of this other code in it. And this is what that whole page looks like right now. So this is just our Rev Slider Demo 3 page. And if I want to add that to our menu, I'll go back to menus. And I'll need to refresh because we just added it after this page was loaded. There's the page we just added. So again, that's under Appearance and Menus. So now I'll just select that, Add to Menu. and I'll put it where I want it. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this stuff since we just don't need it there. It was just a demo. Remove, and then remember to save the menu. Okay, so now we have Rev Slider 3 in place too. And here's the Rev Slider Demo 3 page. Now what you can do with this is, let's say that we liked it, but we wanted to do something else with this top part. So I can go back to our slides, and let's say I want to add this L restaurant dev slide instead. I'll click here to bring that slide settings up. And this is all you need. See, this is called the shortcode. And you place the shortcode where you want to show the slider. So I'm going to copy this bracket to bracket. And then we can go into that page, and you can see here, this is the menu back. I happen to know that that's the little top piece right here. That's all that is. And the first big slide is this one, the Good News blog header. So we're just going to take out that shortcode and replace it with the restaurant shortcode. Okay, so you can see now that says Rev Slider alias L restaurant dev. And I need to remember to update. Okay, so that's updated. And now let's go back out and take a look. And it should have the restaurant slide instead of the blog header slide. And there it is. So you can see how we just, it still has the Good News menu back up here. And there's the slider, but all the rest is the exact same. So you can see how quickly and easily you can change things like that. And this is an example of a horizontal slideshow. So it only has one position vertically, but check out all the different slides you've got here. And you can put this menu in different places too. We're going to look at that momentarily. But for now, let's take a look at different images. And it looks like part of it's being cut off up here. So I'd want to look into that if I were really doing this as a site. Looks like it's from Britain, or the EU at least, with the comma instead of the decimal. Premium ales. And you can see each one of these has an effect. Look at the glass filling and pouring here. Isn't that much more engaging than your typical static site? And this is what's called a Ken Burns effect. If you watch how everything moves out into an angle, that can be done with any image, any slide, pretty easily. Okay, so you get the idea of how that works. So we just changed that, and we just built all this just now within a couple of minutes. Now we can go in and we could edit any of these things. So let's do that. Why not? So we'll go back to our slide page, and we're in our development slide. So I'll go here to slide editor. You can see that these are our slides. And excuse me 1 second here, I need to cough. I'll use my mute button. Okay, I'm back. So again, we can take a look and see what the static layer is, if there's anything there. So here's our static layer. I'm not seeing much. Oh, here it is over here on the right. So these look like some menu items that were set up. Excuse me. Set up, and these hover over everything. And there's one more item here. I can see some of that's hard to look at. So again, you want to just change and say, show me all that over top of a slide. And I can pick whichever one I want. And that way I can determine if we have the right colors being used for the backgrounds, and that it's easy to see. Like here, that white over that back panel of white, to me, doesn't really stand out very well. So if I didn't like that, I could just grab all these and slide them around and put them wherever I want. But that's on the some of them too will be on the layer itself, so you have to know which is which. These look like the static layer, but again, look where that menu button is. That's pretty hard to read out on the slider itself. Well, in fact, it doesn't even show because the top of ours is getting cut off. So if I wanted to move something like that, I can just grab it and put it wherever I want. So this would be a weird place to put it, but I'm going to do it anyway, just because it's fun, and we can do what we want. So I just slid that over there. And now if I were to save and come back out and, whoops, is that, yeah, that's the right one. Refresh. And see where it is now. So I just moved the menu button just by sliding it around. And you can see how it works. It pops the menu out when you click it and pops it back in when you click it again. And those are animations that can be put onto any element as well. So let's mess around with it a little bit more. Let's say we wanted to change any of this. We can go back into the slide, and we're looking at the glass slide here. We may as well go to the first one. And there's so much to show. We'll work on this for a minute, and then I'm going to go through a bunch more options for what we can do. So here's the title. If I wanted to change that, let's all you do is double click, and it'll give you a text box up here. So we could, let's say we didn't like that all cap look. We can change it to lowercase. We can change the color. You can also pop in your own hex values, of course. And I showed you how to capture those the last time. Now let's put that back to white. We can change anything here. We can slide all this around. And even this is just an element. So you can add objects and elements and create actions from them and determine what they're going to do. So for example, on this one, you can control the behavior and the actions and what you'd like it to do whenever somebody clicks on it for any of these items. And for every single thing on here, there are dozens of different settings. And that's why this is a good class for an overview. And it's an important class because it really makes a big difference in what your final website looks like. But most people don't have time to go into this level of detail when you cover theming overall in one class. Frankly, any one of the sessions we've done could be broken out into a 6-week class by itself if we really wanted to dig deep. But this is more of get you started and give you a platform to work on and help you get through it as you go, and giving you enough self-learning tools to augment whatever we do in here in class. Okay, so let's look at some of the options that are available at the higher level for the slideshow itself. So if I go back here to all sliders, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave. I know I didn't save, but it's giving me the reminder. Okay, so this is just the general overview. You can see what's gone on with update histories and things. It's kind of your main entry point for Slider Revolution. Over here on your menu item, that's where you can see also there's a navigation editor, global settings, and places for add-ons. But the add-ons will only work, unless it's a free add-on, it'll only work if you've got the activated version where you pay the 26 bucks. But that's where you'd set some of your macro level settings. Once you're inside, let's stick to the same one. So we'll go back here to the L restaurant dev. And you can see why I made a copy first. I can do anything I want with this now and not worry about, oh crap, that was really cool when I started and now I've got a mess. I don't know how to get it back to where it was. Since I made a copy first before I started editing, I don't have to worry about that. I've saved a complete backup copy just like it was when it came in. So from here, you can go to slider settings. And under slider settings, there are a lot of options you can choose from. So if you look at general settings, Here's the slideshow itself. So do you want it to stop when you're hovering? Do you want it to stop after a certain number of loops or slides, or do you want it to keep looping through indefinitely? Do you want to shuffle random mode, loop a single slide over and over, stop the slider out of viewport? What do you want to do with all of these settings? So that's the slideshow. Then here are defaults. So the different types of layers, whether or not they're selectable, the duration. Remember, this is in milliseconds. So 9,000 milliseconds is 9 seconds. Here's a initialization delay. You can see what all these are. Different fade options. So all these different options for transitioning, animation duration, source size, all these different types of fits. And then there's the Ken Burns pan and zoom. That one's a cool effect. So I'm going to show you how that works. Excuse me. I'm got a dry throat from talking too much today. I had 2 webinars this morning, and this is my third. And the second one had 500 people on it. They had a lot of questions, so I apologize for my voice quality today. But you can see here what you can do with the Ken Burns effect. I'll turn it off right here, and because I don't want to overwrite all slides, I'm going to set that at the slide level when I demo that. And then whether or not you want a progress bar, that just basically shows the slide, how long it's in. I generally don't like those, so I'm going to turn that off. Activate an alternate first slide, and then some other things over here. But you can see all the different options just in this first box. So the best thing is to play with all of them if you've got the time. Down here is layout and visual. Those are all pretty straightforward as to what they do. Patterns, background colors. Here you can set your spinner. The spinner is the item that shows while a page or an item is loading. So for example, we have no spinner now, but if we wanted to, here's one option. There's another option. So this tells people that they're not at a dead space, that they're, something's happening there. It gives an idea that something's processing, be patient, we'll be there shortly kind of thing. That's probably one you're used to seeing. That looks like a lot of the browser spinners that are used. So we'll leave, I think, I kind of like this one overall. And then, of course, you can change the color. And then here's mobile. So sometimes people want to disable a slider on mobile or disable the Ken Burns effect. And then you might want to hide elements under certain sizes. So if a screen width is going to get small, you could say, hide all layers if it gets smaller than, say, 50 pixels or something like that, or 100 or 200, whatever you want it to be. It depends on what you're showing and what kind of screens you expect to be showed on. Typically, you want to design for, typical mobile and tablet screen sizes. And then where to position it on the page, margins. That's only the second box. Navigation. This is where we're talking about things like how long you'd want to preview an image size, whether or not you want to enable arrows. We'll go ahead and turn those on. Which direction they go in, which that you want to use. Bullets. Tabs. We'll turn those on too so you can see what some of this stuff looks like. And then even under tabs, you can see all the different options. These are just tab options. So this is a really, really well done plugin for WordPress. Probably the most complex WordPress plugin I've come across so far. Thumbnails. This is where you can enable thumbnails so you can see how they would show on the screen itself. We'll turn that on. And then that's if you were going to go right to left direction. Let's say that you were working on a site for, say, a Middle Eastern country where they read from right to left instead of left to right. You can switch this on and it'll reverse everything from a presentation standpoint. And there's your wrappers, thumbnail styles, thumbnail sizes. visible, spacing, direction. You get the idea. So those are just all settings just for the thumbnails. So quite a bit you can do. Parallax in 3D. Enable parallax. Sure, why not? Disable on mobile. Probably a good idea. And yeah, let's do 3D too. And 3D, you can set shadows, background, slider overflow. You can, obviously determine what you want to do with it. Set mouse sensitivity. And these are all your different depths if you're doing something 3D. So remember I talked about the Z index. So you have, an X index, a Y index, and a Z index. So your X is obviously your horizontal, Y is your vertical, and your Z is front to back in depth, looking, say, from the front of your screen into the back of your screen. And that's how you can apply the different layers for 3D depth. Oops, here's tells you a little bit about search engine optimization. So it'll rate your slide. You have to be careful if you're using a lot of graphics because that can really slow your load down. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to that and that things load decently. Here's our total slide sizes. Now you can see more stats on it or any issues, and it tells you what your score is overall. So we're pretty good. The next one you probably won't do much with. That's problems handling, troubleshooting. Here they're talking about iOS 4 and IE8. Most people aren't using IE8 anymore. Thank goodness they aren't using IE at all anymore most of the time. But you can check things out in here if you've got issues. You can try the no conflict mode for jQuery. Sometimes there's conflicts between plugins, but I've not had to use any of those yet with any of the slides I've worked on. Google fonts are available. So if you want to use any of these fonts in your system, you can activate those. Here's just import, export, replace. We've already done some of that from what we've shown already. And then these are API functions. API stands for Application Programming Interface. And this gives you what you would need if you were building software that was going to interact and you wanted to know how to make all these actions occur within your software. You can use this API to make that happen. So you can see all the pre-prepared code here to give you examples, and then the events and methods it's broken into. So those are all the things that you can do in terms of your settings over here. In terms of the types of different presentations you can do, we've only been looking at the default slider. And oops, somebody just pinged me asking for a break. It is 7:33. I apologize. We always do a 5-minute around halfway through, and that's where we are now. So I'm going to go ahead and mute out and freeze my screen. I have 7:33 as per my phone. So I will be back at 7:38 for us to continue. But for now, we are on a 5-minute break. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you've had enough time to refresh your gin and tonics and get back to your desk so we can have some more fun doing design. So let's take a look at what we can do with some of the different options here. So we've been looking at the default slider options, but the other things you can do are a post-based slider. So if you take a look at this, that's useful for whether it's pages. Page is technically a type of post, and most other things are too, uh, based on what you've added to your site and the capabilities you've given it. So, for example, in our case, we've got WooCommerce, which has products. We have a recipe plugin for people that are working on cooking websites, which there are quite a few. And this allows people to create recipes and display those as posts. And you can see all the different things, orders, refunds, coupons. Posts are kind of the main function or core competency of WordPress. So when people are adding things to WordPress, they're typically technically a post. So if you wanted to show this post-based slider, what that would mean is if you create posts, they're going to show in the slider as it's rotating through. So instead of having just an image, you might have your image with, you've probably seen it on some news sites where various stories flash across the top, and it'll show the image and then the text that goes with the image, and then it'll show another image and it'll rotate through all the top stories of the day. That's the type of thing you could do with this. And when you're creating posts, you create categories and tags. So we only have a few in here, not really many. I don't think we've created any actually. So if we went in and created certain tags, let's say that you had different product lines. So if you're a jewelry store and you sell watches and you sell rings and you sell, I don't even know what else jewelry stores sell. I don't go into much. Necklaces, okay? You can have a different page for each. You could have each one of your products show only on the page for that products, on those products. So you could have one page for necklaces, one for watches, whatever else you're working on. And then each page would only show the slides that fit that category. And that's how you can keep everything segmented well and uh, fitting well for your audience. So you could do categories, you can do tags. Here you can do specific posts. And with specific posts, what that means is using your post ID. So each post has an ID, and they're kind of hard to find. For WordPress being overall as easy to use as it is, that's a difficult thing. I'm going to show you how to do it, but you'll see why it should be easier. So I'm going to go back here just to open up another page in the back end. So I'll go here. I'm on my sites already. I'll go to the dashboard. And then we'll go to posts. And whether you click posts or all posts, it takes you to the same place. Once it gets us there. All right, so you can see I made a post called class resources. And the only reason that ID shows is because I added a new column to WordPress to show that. But typically it doesn't. We do that through WP Edit. So if you're ever working on a WordPress site and you can't tell what the IDs are, I'm going to show you the way most people do it once they get the hang of it, but I thought it's really silly. If I hover over class resources and then look all the way at the bottom of my page, and I can't do that because if I move my mouse, it's going to go away. But whenever I hover again, look down here and you'll see where it shows the link that I'm hovering over. So I hover over, and now I can see where it says post towards the end, 330, post equals 330, and that's the ID. But normally in WordPress, that doesn't even show. So, and that's the same with pages. Pages have IDs. So if we go into pages, if I hover over, I can see again from the bottom here, that's 353. But on most WordPress sites, that won't show this column. But with this plugin that we use called WP Edit, that's an option that's allowed to be activated. So I can go here to, I believe it's general. I might be wrong. It might be the next tab. Okay, so here's where I actually check to use this break shortcode to insert lines where I need them, insert spaces that look nicer. And then here's options I can set for that. I think it might be under user specific. Yeah, so under here is where I checked add column to post page list view for displaying the post page ID and add column for thumbnails. If it weren't for those, they wouldn't show. And so you'd have a heck of a time figuring out what the post number is if you weren't familiar with WordPress. I don't know why, with as simple as everything else is, they don't do something about that. That should be a standard feature. But I should submit it. If you have ideas like that, WordPress is very open to hearing them. They want to hear them, and they'll often incorporate them in the next update. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that as an idea because it seems really obvious that it should be there. But that's where you would get the ID. So again, in this case, it's 330. And when we're creating the slide, we would put that ID in here. So you could put 330, comma, and put the IDs of any other posts that you want to feature. So you might have thousands of posts on your website, but 10 that you want to always be rotating through your top header, that's where you can set those. You could also choose add popular, add recent, and here's how you sort them. So date, title, slug, author, direction, maximum number of posts per slider, the limit the excerpt. This would be number of words in the excerpt. So those are all options you'd have with a specific post. That's pretty straightforward. That's current post page. Here you can add a Flickr stream. So if you have a Flickr account and you want to show your Flickr photos on your website, then you can do it through there. And to do that, here's, you'd set the total number of slides, the caching. You need a Flickr API key. And we talked about API keys before, application program interface. There you can, they have instructions right here of how to do it. You need to log into your Flickr account and create the API typically. And it doesn't take coding. You just have to pretty much tell it you want an API key, and it'll give you one. And then you put that API key in here and save it along with your Flickr URL and what you want your source to be in your from your Flickr gallery. So you can use public photos, use a specific photo set, a specific gallery, or specific groups photos, and show only those. So again, you could set them up on different pages with different slides for different topics and different feeds. Instagram, same kind of thing. So Instagram username, number of slides, and what you want to include. Well, in that case, it's just user public photos. And here's WooCommerce. This is one we're going to be covering more, well, at least we'll be covering WooCommerce more whenever we get to the section on monetization, which I think is next week, as I recall. And in that session, we're going to be talking about how to make money off of a website, whether it be through Amazon ads or eBay or selling Macy's products or Home Depot, or even your own downloadable music or writing or whatever it might be. You can set all that up as your e-commerce platform through WooCommerce. Then you can set up a slide that will show all your products. So here you can choose the products or product variations, which would be like sizes, that sort of thing. We would have product categories set up. So again, if you had a jewelry store and you had watches and rings and things like that, you can set up different product categories on different pages. Sort by any of these methods listed. So if you think about how Amazon does it, where they could list, most popular item of different category, things like that. Or if you want to make sure that every item gets the same amount of exposure, you can do it as random, and then by number of comments, so you see what people are talking about, titles, dates, IDs, stock quantity, anything that you like, the featured products. So you can determine what order, what comes first in the product stream as it's flowing through. How many products maximum? Again, excerpt, number of words, price points. So if you had pages set up for low, mid-range, and high-range products, that's where you can set those up. If you only want to show things that are in stock, you can add that. So if WooCommerce is tracking your stock for you, which it can, and you can even tie it in with Square now. So if you make a sale through Square on your phone, it'll tell WordPress that or WooCommerce that your stock is reduced by whatever amount was purchased at that time. Twitter stream, pretty straightforward. Facebook stream, same thing. YouTube. And again, with all of these, you need to put in your API key, which you get from YouTube. So you can put in your channel ID. You can put in a playlist. And playlists don't have to be yours, by the way. A lot of people, I mentioned that it would be good to use YouTube because people like videos and because you can do so much with it and so many people search for content there. And there's a lot of well-produced content on YouTube if you look for it. Like, for example, I'm going through just about the entire Bachelor of Science program for computer science at MIT just to see what they're teaching these days and the latest stuff they're talking about. Then I probably won't do the whole thing, but I could do it all for free with videos that are available on the web. MIT is putting up all of their classes now. They have a goal of having every class that they offer available for free online. So take advantage of those kinds of things. And you can create playlists from anything that's on YouTube and then put that playlist on your channel. So things to be careful of are making sure you don't inadvertently advertise for competitors. Like, for example, when I go to put things up, I see all these self-made web platforms and people are trying to advertise website services to me. So you wouldn't want to do that if your job is making websites. You wouldn't want people looking at videos on your page that advertise other sites or other competitors. So you'd want to make sure that you screen those well and know what's going to come up after the video plays. And Vimeo. Vimeo is another video streaming platform similar to YouTube. Some people prefer Vimeo because they have more favorable licensing rights for the user. And again, it depends on what your product is and how much you're concerned about that. If you're just putting things up that you want to propagate far, YouTube is probably your best bet. If you're worried about possibly losing rights to it or having it get out too many places, Vimeo might be a better option for you. But those terms of service change so frequently, I'd recommend checking both of those before relying on what I just said, because that was about 2 years ago that I researched both of the user license agreements in terms of service to see what you're giving up when you post on either place, and that's where Vimeo seemed to come out ahead. But that might not always be the case. So again, with any slide, you can do all of this. You can set all these different options. We'll go back here to default slider. Then as you drop down, any of these can be changed if you want to rename them. So put a number in front, for example, if you want to remember what order to put them in. Here you've got standard slider. So I'm going to save, make sure we don't lose anything. And that's what we have set right now. So let's go back and see what that looks like. And this is, again, the L restaurant slider. We had it just posted in here. But let's say we want to put it on its own page, so we can take a look at it individually. I'm going to go back here and grab our shortcode. So just hover, highlight, copy. And now we're going to create a new page. And we'll call this, I know we're not consistent, but I don't care, RS Demo 4 Restaurant. I missed that extra A there. And now we can just paste that shortcode right here. And I'll center it, but I probably don't need to. So just from putting that in here, this page should show that slide now. So I will come back down here. Remember, we want to change this from the default template to the Slider Revolution blank template. And I usually turn off the display title too. And now we will publish. And just so I don't have to come back and forth if we have any issues, instead of hitting view page, I'm going to duplicate this tab. And then I'll hit view page. And that way we've got front end and back end loaded. I like having the back tab and front tab for anything I'm working on so I can just switch tabs back and forth as needed. So you can see what we did here. Remember when we turned on the 3D and wanted to see what that would look like? Look what this does now. So that was one of the effects we activated when we were playing around with the settings. Now that looks a little bit weird, but it's also kind of cool. You can see that it gives you some motion and makes you want to play around and see what you find there. You know, maybe search the table or something. And you can do this with 360 images as well. So for example, let me show you one of the examples here that's pretty cool. Here, this one. So this is a 360 panorama tour. If any of you have the GoPro where you can do 360 shots, and I think it's even coming to cameras now where you can, say from your phone, do basically a sweeping rotating shot and it'll create something like this. So this is a 360 rotation. And you can see what it's doing with this house in particular. So this is a realtor's site, and I can grab this and move it. So right now I'm scrolling through the center of my screen, or technically clicking and dragging, and you can see I can go to 360 and see the whole place, at least from inside this little courtyard. Now if I wanted to see the rest of the house or a different view, I'll click here to rotate through a slide. Here's the interior. Boy, that's pricey. It's only 1,200 square feet and 2.1 million. That's some neighborhood. I have a feeling that this is a bit more than 1,200 square feet, though, looking at it. So if we were to rotate through here, you can see that you get a 360 view of the house. I'm currently working on a project like this for one of my clients, where we're shooting video in their manufacturing facility, and they want people to be able to see what they do. So we're putting in a virtual tour where people can walk into different rooms of the facility and do a 360 from different positions and see what's going on in any of those places. So you can see there a nice pool in the back, nice visuals, and all this is Revolution Slider with a 360 image. Let's see this last one here. And then I thought there were 3, so there's that. And here's another exterior. And I think that's probably more than 3,000 square feet too. But you get the idea. So all this is Slider Revolution. So tons of things that you could do with this. And again, we just made this effect. So remember, this is the one RS Demo 4 restaurant. Remember how we moved the menu over to the middle? But it's making this whole page look like it's got some depth to it. It's not just a static page. This is the one that this is the one we messed with, but it's only that slide on the page. That's all you'd have to do to put a slide on a page. And if we wanted another one under it, where we were doing layers before, I'm going to show you how you just copy paste some things so you don't have to remember stuff like that. Let's go back to here. So remember that this is what we use for a break as a shortcode. So I can copy that, or let's say even all the rest of this if we wanted to put it in. And then we can go to that page again and just add it here. And I'll go ahead and put that back over to the side. Now let's see, make sure I don't have any spaces or anything. That should work. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, that's saved. Let's go out and look at it and see what that did. All right, so there's our restaurant page again. And now if we scroll down, remember the thumbnails that we added? That's what these are. So now if you wanted to, instead of clicking those arrows, you can click the thumbnails. And I'll scroll back up. And remember, we also added arrows for navigation. That's what these are. So you can use multiple options to scroll through. And those are bullet points, and they're off to the side, but they can be placed along the bottom too. That's usually where I put them. So you can click on any thumbnail. Of course, I would never have all of these showing, the arrows, the bullets, and the thumbnails. It's kind of strange. But you can see it added this kind of 3D motion effect with the mouse everywhere we go on that slide. Notice that was a slide we changed, not a whole system. So what we just did was added those slides we looked at before below our restaurant slide. So in the real world, you might want to have, say, plates, or you might want to do the 360 type of tour on the inside of your restaurant so people can see what it looks like. You can do the kitchen, you can do the dining rooms if you have a special event room, anything like that to give people a real feel for being in the place. And again, too, these are just what we're showing below. There's a bit vertical parallax. Notice how the back moves at a slower pace than what's in the front. So this will climb up the wall back there because that's what it would look like if you were moving in the real world. The things right next to your eye appear to move faster than the things further from your eye, or at least because of the angle. But you can see what we just did. And we could do that with any other slides too. So if there were only particular slides we wanted in there, that's how you would do it. And then we could go in and adjust anything on there. So let's look at some other examples. We have a lot of things loaded up here. So we'll go back to our sliders. And we haven't looked at this one yet, have we? Web Product Dark Hero. Let's find one that has multiple slides in it. They're much more fun to play with. All right, this could be interesting. So remember, all these together are called a slider in the terms of this software, but you have multiple slides within a slider. Now let's look at this. We'll put it on a page, and then we'll talk about ways you can also create your own slides from blank, or start with one slide, make a duplicate, and then add it to wherever you need it to go. So we'll go back here to slider settings just to get our shortcode. And here it is right here. And you can change the names of these. So if I were going to do it myself, or I wanted to mess around a lot with it, I'd go back to all sliders. And I would make a duplicate copy of whichever one I was going to work with. So let's say here, duplicate, and we'll call it web prod dev. Duplicate. So here's our web prod dev that we just created. And I want to see the shortcode for that one. Here it is. So I'll copy that. Then we'll go create a page. Add the shortcode. And this is just one slider, so that's all we need. And we'll call that web prod dev. I guess RS demo, I think we're on 5. We'll save the page. Fix our template. Publish. And while that's doing that, I'll go ahead and duplicate the tab. And then we come back here and say view page. And look at what we just did. So just by adding that slide, we just created all this. And you can see this itself could be a nice page for products. So get started today, very simple. Just a couple of options of things to do. And there should be slides in this portfolio. So let me see if I can. I don't see I don't see the options for sliding through though, and I'm not able to scroll. So I'm not sure why it's doing that. But let's take a look. So here's our slide. Let's go back to oh, all sliders. Yeah, so you'd think it would show a way to rotate through all these, but it's not showing. So we'll take a look at settings for this slider. Here are our general settings, layout and visual. And what we're looking for is I'm not seeing navigation here. Move and scroll, parallax is on. I'm not sure why it's not showing those other slides. One is it's a hero scene. So hero scene takes up the whole space. It doesn't show any of the add-ons. Let's go back here to standard slider and then save. And carousel slider, by the way, we'll look at that option too after we take a look at this and see if that straightened out what we're trying to do. So refresh here. And I don't know why I'm not seeing any of the bullets and things that we should see. So I have to take a look at that. That's not what I'm expecting. And that button's not live. I don't know if they intended to have it linked to anything or not. But typically what you'd find is that we'd have all those things rotating through. I need to take a look into the settings probably much more deeply to figure out why it's not doing that. Oh, there's navigation. Okay, so let's enable arrows. That's what we talked about before. And bullets, you can see we talked about those and where they'd be positioned. Direction, horizontal, visibility. So here they're under. This is what we were looking for. And we'll go ahead and turn on thumbnails too, though I would never have all these on in real life, but we'll do it for now just to show how they render. Now let's check it out again. So refresh. There we go. So it could be there's just one slide showing here. It's only showing one. So that might be the way it's set up. Let's take a look. Yeah, it looks like it just put that one slide in for some reason instead of the whole slider package. But normally if you put the package in, then it would show all those slides. And we'll go ahead and add that to the menu as well. So since we're here, we'll refresh to get all the new pages loaded. And we'll add 4 and 5. And then subcategories and save menu. Now if we go back out and refresh, well, that's actually all the way back here. So you can see that these are all there. And I'm not sure what that flyout's about. As I said, it looks like it's set to be a horizontal dropdown. I'll change that before we get back online. But in fact, I'll change it tonight because it makes it really weird looking and you can't get into anything. Or at least not the fifth one we just added. All right, so that's pretty much an overview. And one of the things that you can do to find just about anything you need is use YouTube. So if I were to go out here and go to YouTube, see if I have one saved. I don't. I'm open on the tab and going to YouTube. And if I do a search on Revolution Slider, and specifically 5.4, because that's what we're using right now, you can see all the different options for what you'd want to do. Here, this one has 79 videos in this playlist for Slider Revolution 5. Here's Make Your Slider Responsive, Basics of Slider Revolution 5. Wow. Okay, I added one called that I thought was a full tutorial. The one that I added to our page is 2 hours long. Here's one that's 4.5 hours long. Now, I'm going to look at that for a second and see if it's decent quality. Yeah, it's the same person. So I don't know why one's 4.5 hours long and the other only 2.5. But I'm going to go ahead and add this one to our site instead. So if I copy that URL and then go back to our pages, we've got a page set up for a video here. So you can see that each of these are where the video was loaded. And I'll go here. This is what I have in right now. So I'm going to delete this. And then we'll add that the one that we just did. And you'll see that that gets added automatically. So with the latest 2 or 3 versions of WordPress, when you put in a link from a video, it will go ahead and render the whole video right there if you have it set up right. So I'll update that page. And now if we go back out to our class site, again, let's duplicate, view page. Oh, still loading here. Everything's loading slowly now, but that will pop up on the page here. And so you can go back and view those videos. They should be available soon. And the other nice thing about doing those through YouTube instead of hosting them yourself is that when somebody's watching them, they're not using up your server bandwidth or your processing power on your server, because these are all hosted on YouTube. So they show through our sites, but they aren't hosted on our servers, which splits the load and makes it work better. And again, here's that video we just added. All you'd have to do is click play, and you can open that up into a full-size screen as well. So that's all you need to do. So if you get in trouble on anything, one of the first places I look is WordPress. So say you wanted to do something specific, like let's say Ken Burns effect, which I neglected to show you so far, but promised I would, so we will. So if I wanted to see Ken Burns effect and how to do that, I could do it on a specific effect. And here you are, Slider Revolution 5 WordPress tutorial, Ken Burns effect. And that's a 6-minute video. So you can see how much any options. Slider Revolution tutorial, Ken Burns. Here's another one, Ken Burns. So there's options to learn almost anything on YouTube. It's usually the first place I go if I'm trying to figure out how to do something I haven't done before, just to see what they've got to offer. So with all that, you should be able to learn and follow this any way that you like. You just need to let me know what slide template to put in for you. So let's look at the Ken Burns effect. So we'll go back to one we haven't messed with yet. That one we'll leave whole. Let's see, here's the, well, we can look at that restaurant slider, the one that we didn't change. So here, if I refresh here, make sure we've got the right one. Oh, this is slider demo 3, so that is a little messy. And let's see if it does it with all the slides. I think so. I think we set it as a, yeah, so that's doing that with every slide. I'm going to do a different one then, just to give us a different starting point. So to do that, let's go back into, so I'm going back down here to Slider Revolution. And let's take a look at this one. This kind of country road. Again, I made a duplicate to work on, so this was the original. Here's our development slide. You can see all the different slides that are here. Now this is the slideshow itself. You can see the background image. And if we were to look at that now, I'll go ahead and put it on a page for us. Here's the short code. I'll copy that, make a page, add it to the page, center, and I think we're on 6 now. Publish. And we're not going to need to do anything in here again, I know. So I'm going to go ahead and view page without making a duplicate tab this time. Oh, what did we forget? We forgot to switch the theme. So let's go back and do that. Click edit page. Go down here to our theme and choose the template for Slider Revolution. Update. View page. Oh, good. They already have a Ken Burns effect set up for us. So this is a nice one to give examples for a lot of different features. I hadn't thought about that, but it's the perfect one for our use. This is just your home page here, I believe, so your home slide. And they've got a scroll button here, but it's not going down to anything. So if we had slides stacked below this, we could set that to scroll down. Next goodie is probably set as an action or behavior, so that when you click it, it goes to the next slide, which is probably the next ghost button. Ghost buttons are the way to go for navigation these days. If you look at any more modern type websites, they don't use the old traditional menus like we're using on our site here. They'll use something more like the ghost buttons. Oh, keep losing my spot here. Sorry about that. Too many things open. There we go. I'm going to put this one all the way at the end so I can find it easier. Okay, so these ghost buttons are set so right now it's just a border with, it looks like a 50% opacity single pixel line around it. And when you hover over it, goes from opacity to opaque to solid, so you don't see any kind of translucency there. And if you click on any one, it'll rotate to another slide. So here we have a vertical instead of a horizontal. That's what it's doing. And that's just the transition, the way it comes in. This is the Ken Burns effect. So you'll notice how the mountain is like sliding in and the people are getting closer. That's really effective if you have something like a road or a trail, because as you're making that slide in, it looks like you're walking down the trail. So it feels like you're in the environment. And this is parallax. So watch how, if we move the mouse around, see how things move. You can set all these layers to be triggered by a mouse and to move at different rates in different directions, whatever you want them to do. So that's a demo of the parallax effect. Ken Burns you've seen. And this is a cool video. So you can see here that you've got a video, and it's going to show you some kind of interesting things as we go forward, like time lapse. So this one might be good if, say, you were doing a site about global warming or climate change, the Arctic seas melting, the ice caps, whatever you're looking at. So there's how you can insert a video into a slide. Here's that Ken Burns effect. You notice the mountains moving in, the people are getting closer to you. Parallax with the mouse movement. And here's our intro. Now you can see here again on this intro slide, there's no motion or anything. And this would be a good one to show an example of the Ken Burns effect. So if I go back to our slider, yep, this is the right one, the non-generic dev slide. And I want to go to our slide editor. And this is a slide we want to look at. So I'll choose that. And there it is. So what I want to do here is turn on that Ken Burns effect. So I'm going to go here to Ken Burns, on, and you put what you want to zoom from to what you want to zoom to. So let's say we started at 90 and we want to scale into maybe 80. You can also set the horizontal and vertical offsets. So if you wanted to go from corner to corner or something like that, you can do it. You can do rotation and blurs, the duration, change any of those things. So let me save it, and we'll go take a look at what that did. So now if we refresh, let's see what the 100 to 90 did to us. So you can see here it's kind of moving out and it's moving to the side in a kind of an odd way. That's not really what we're looking for. So we'll go back here and try that again. I'm going to close some of these that are getting in the way. All right, let's look at that again. So let's do the opposite. Let's go from 80 to 100. And it looks like we have two layers here too. That's part of what's causing this issue in the back. And you can do it from wherever you want from the different positions. This is the Parallax 3D. So you can change how you want those to work. Here are different filters you can put on. So if you have a color scheme for your restaurant, you can create a filter that goes over all your images that will make them blend in with that theme. So say you had a yellow or a bluish theme, and you wanted a kind of filter over all of your images, you could choose something like that. If it was more red, yellow, or light, you can choose whichever you like, and it'll impact the way your site looks. Let's say that one for now. Save. Here are source settings. So if you have an image you wanted to upload, you can upload that image and put the URL in there. And then what size you want. And there's your source. So you can also use external URLs, which I don't really recommend because you might have a hard time loading them at times. You could also choose sources from video platforms and transparent or color. You can choose items from the object library. If that's available, that might take a license. Yeah, it does. So when you're trying to add something from there, you'll need the license to do it. But that overall gives you a pretty good idea of how this works. And you have instructions for further education and resources if you want to flush it out. As a reminder, if you want to go through the theme example page that we've been looking at today, go ahead and pick out anything you'd like me to load for you. The form itself includes your name, email, and your site name. just so I know where to install it and what to put it on so you can play around with it. But feel free to have some fun and do whatever you like. Again, you can do anything you want on these sites. They're all just learning platforms. If you want to try adding some video, feel free to do that and work out some things that you wouldn't do on your production site because you wouldn't want it to look odd if you're changing it all day for the audience and that sort of thing. So with that, we will check and see if we've got any questions. Now would be a good time to add those. And I'll hang for a few minutes and see if anything else comes in. Looks like we had a lot of questions in the first half of the class, but not as many in the second, which is fine. That means either people understood it or that a third gin and tonic has sunk in and that you're sleeping at your desk. But I hope it's been fun and you've learned a way to do a new thing and how you can create really beautiful websites without any coding skills. The most you need to pay is the $26 if you want the full version where you can upload things directly yourself. And otherwise, just send me the, and by the way, if you do that, don't bother putting that license on this site. Save that for your own site, for your production site, rather than using it here, because you can only use the license on one site. So you're better off keeping that for yourself. And if you were to do that and you get a license, you'll be able to go right into the template and download anything that you need and upload it yourself. Or let me know and I'll do it for you on this site so you can play around with it before you put it on your own. And I've got 8:24. I'll wait a few more minutes and see if anybody's got any questions. And other than that, we'll call it a night. Okay, not seeing any more questions at this time. So if that's the case, we'll go ahead and call it a wrap. And next week, we are going to be looking at, did I leave our schedule up here? Next week is a fun one for most people because that's what they're really interested in, and that's the monetization. So we're going to be covering different ways to make money from your website, including things like e-commerce, advertising, job boards, lots of different third-party plugins that you can put in, affiliate programs. And you can, if you do have a store or an online commerce, e-commerce type of thing, you can create an affiliate program that allows you to have other people advertise your products and get paid a commission. And we'll be covering that next week too. So if you have friends with Facebook pages or something like that, or websites, they can promote your link. And each time somebody clicks on that link, it'll have an individual code, just like an Amazon affiliate account. And if they make a purchase, then they would be eligible to earn commissions or however else you set it up. So it gives them incentive to push your products and help get other people buying them. So that's what we'll be doing next week. And then week 6 is social media integration. And that might sound simple, but it can get really complex and have a huge impact on what you can do. So I'm going to be showing you a really cool system to do that with that is more efficient than any other commercially available system on the market that I've found so far. And I know that because we're entering that market with this Chat Badger system. And I'm pretty sure that we've got the market beat in terms of what we can offer there. So you'll be learning basically how to create all the same tools that we're using there. And then the next week, we're going to break into AI. And don't let that concern you or intimidate you. If you got into heavy-duty math algorithms and the types of things to do machine learning at a deep level, then sure, it takes a lot of years and practice to learn the code and to learn statistics and different things related to probability, how to do regression analysis, logarithmic regression, things that you don't need to know at all. So what we're going to do is show you how to use tools that are available for free without any coding, any advanced math knowledge, and you'll be able to put these tools to use in your work. So that's what we've got coming up for the next 3 weeks. looking forward to it. And then our final week is just a review session to cover anything that you'd like to cover. And I'll go over how to transfer your work from our platform out to your own WordPress site whenever you're ready to go. So with that, I don't see any other questions in, so we will call it a wrap. Thank you, everybody. And I got to say it, go Warriors. Oh, by the way, I'm considering the next week, the Warriors, I think, could possibly be on game 5. And that might be the game for them to win the finals championship. So if that's the case, we might reschedule. So sorry, but it's a fact. I'm happy to do all this for free and have fun, but I don't want to miss the Warriors game 5 if they're playing for the championship that day. But we'll keep it posted, and I'll send the newsletter out to everybody if it looks like it's going to go that way, and we'll just make up the class on a different day. Probably the Thursday instead of Wednesday, and all the recordings will be here. So if for some reason we schedule it on Thursday, but you can't make it on Thursday, then you can come back here and watch the recording and contact me if you've got any questions. So with that, oh yeah, go Warriors! I'm getting a lot of comments there from the audience, for the participants, we'll say. But thank you all, and I agree, go Warriors. We'll see y'all back next week, unless the Warriors are playing for Game 5 championship. Let's just hope they wrap it up in 4 straight. But the only problem there is they'd be doing it in Cleveland. And I wouldn't mind seeing them lose one so they could win it all at home. But I'll take what we can get. Happy to be here. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great night and a great week. And send me any questions you have, or fill out the contact form or the request form if you'd like me to load any plugins or themes. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.